Chris, what do you mean by critical infrastructure, and who is ultimately responsible for its security?
Critical infrastructure are those vital assets that we depend on in the society. It's our power system, it's our transportation system. It's areas like Darling Harbour. The people responsible for critical infrastructure are the owners and operators, the practitioners, that is the people who will be attending the conference, whose specialty is how we actually protect this infrastructure and how we plan to protect it, as well as the relationship between government and industry. Those are the key people involved in critical infrastructure protection.
In recent times there have been no attacks on critical infrastructure in Australia. Does this mean the threat has subsided?
Certainly not. The best way to think about critical infrastructure protection is not to think about the potentiality of a terrorist attack. The fact that one hasn't occurred is actually quite irrelevant. The reason why I say that is our thinking today is much more sophisticated. In earlier years, we tended to think it has to be an attack. Nowadays, the way we think about these things is that we're looking at if we plan for it and an event does occur, whether it be a natural hazard event or something which is deliberate, then we're better prepared. We can mitigate the losses. And that's the most important way to think about that. So focusing on the fact that an attack hasn't occurred is actually really irrelevant to the problem.
In fact, you say there's a problem with threat-based assessments in developing counter-terrorism strategies. What is the problem?
That's very much correct. It again goes back to the issue, why there hasn't been an attack. Our thinking again has become a lot more sophisticated. The problem with looking at hazard events or a terrorism event is that these things are in the case of a terrorism attack, they're highly opportunistic. They plan to be attacked, to give the attack without warning. So in that particular case, you're not going to have the information in hand that something is happening. So again, it goes back to your planning principles. By planning for an event which could occur, you're actually better prepared for when it does occur. Again, we're becoming more sophisticated in our thinking and less reliant on actual threat assessments. They're still very important, but there are other strategies which build around that problem.
Chris, your work focuses on securing mass gathering space from terrorist attack. What do you mean by mass gathering space, and how do you go about making it secure?
A mass gathering space is very much like Darling Harbour. It's the place we get large concentrations of people. We get that coinciding with critical systems such as transport systems, power systems, and also the social infrastructure. Protecting these areas is very difficult because it's a very dynamic space. The sort of concrete work that we do is looking at the emergency management plans, the business continuity plans, some of the physical changes that you can make to space to make it less opportune if a hazard event or a terrorism attack was to occur. Something to do with glass facading perhaps, something to do with the placement of bollards, something to do with the placement of security arrangements, how we actually organise the guards and so forth.
And so that's the kind of concrete action that might be taken to circumvent a terrorist attack on a mass gathering?
Very much so. And it's also that pre-planning. It's understanding what will happen in a space. Building collapse, explosion events and such forth, yes.
Chris, what would you like delegates to take from the National Security Conference in Sydney regarding critical infrastructure security?
The most important thing is the opportunity to network. This is an event where some of the experts, as well as your colleagues, as well as the professionals who are involved in this sort of work, will be attending. This is an opportunity to find out about best practice, where government policy thinking is going, as well as, again, it's an opportunity to network. It's to find the people who will help you prepare your critical infrastructure protection planning.
Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.